thank you very much for being here today. My apologies for not being with you, but trust me, you are in very good hands with my colleague Mark Frey. So I'll let Mark walk you through the slides and obviously be available to address any questions or clarify any points. But again, I wanted to thank you all for being here, and special thanks to Baker McKenzie, French-American Chamber of Commerce and Events in France Agency for putting that practical discussion together.
Okay, thank you, Nathaniel. As you mentioned, my name is Mark Frey. I'm Managing Director at NYSE Euronext. I actually cover the Texas market, which in Houston alone here we have about 130 companies. Texas is right up there amongst the top three in terms of our concentration of listed companies. We've had a number of companies here in Texas that have done the cross-listing process, and we want to talk to you a little bit today about kind of what it's all about, the benefits, and really kind of where we're involved in this particular process. As was mentioned earlier, Europe is such a large market with investors today. Companies want to take it kind of that next level of, rather than just saying 95% of my investors are in the U.S. You want to be able to access that additional level of the market, and by being an NYSE listed company, being able to cross-list onto one of our Euronext markets, such as Paris, it gives companies an opportunity to reach that additional level of investors that they can't reach now currently. Companies frequently will travel overseas into Europe and go to various conferences. They will attend different, go kind of on mini road shows and so on, and they'll talk to companies. Then they talk to someone and say, look, here's what we do, here's our story. They get the feedback, great, I love your story, but because of various restrictions, they can't invest in them. They may have a limited amount that they can invest overseas. They may be restricted by how much they can invest, let's say, for example, in the U.S., could be various reasons. Just a quick kind of thing on the Euronext overview, okay? It is one market, really, Euronext. It is Paris, Lisbon, Brussels, Amsterdam, and also now we've just created a new market in London, correct, Nathaniel?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. It is the leading exchange in Europe, and it is the most liquid market over there. So folks sometimes say, we want to reach the London investors. The London investors can reach you through the Euronext market. So a cross-listing going to Europe doesn't mean you have to go necessarily just to London. London is not the sole place. Really, anybody from Europe, it's one order book, can access you really from anywhere. The list of companies that we have over there, you can take a look. We just set some up on the board here. You can see, some are domiciled, in Europe over here. But really, we're turning into much more being just a, domestic company. We're much more now of almost a universal or international flavor. You can see, if you look over here, Philips, ING, Shell, so on and so forth. A lot of these very big names that people know. 1,200 domestic issuers, in France, Netherlands, Belgium, Portugal, 178 international companies listed on Euronext. A little bit about the fast path listing overview. What companies really want to do is they want to build up their shareholder base in Europe. They want to, rather than be limited strictly to U.S. investors and really kind of what's driven by U.S. investors and reach out to European investors. The fast path process enables these companies to list on one of our exchanges much easier than trying to do it on their own. If you're an NYSE listed company, you can go through the fast path process, save yourselves some paperwork, translation, you can report in GAAP, things of these nature that if you go independently, you have to deal with the individual agencies, okay? Just as an example here, Weatherford here in Houston, Core Labs also cross-listed on Euronext. They want to diversify their shareholder base. Cliffs Natural Resources also cross-listed. They did it kind of as a process. They adjusted their name a little bit. They wanted to position themselves as a global mining company, not just a U.S.-based mining company. The process itself, very straightforward, very cost-efficient. As we said, the list has been growing. Chemtura Corp, who's supposed to be speaking a little bit later today, and Corlett both have cross-listed in 2012. We've had 15 companies in total since then. And the ongoing compliance, which is the key part of it, is really satisfied with your SEC filings. There's no additional corporate governance requirements. And as I said, you can do your filings in English and, again, in GAAP. There we go. A lot of folks wonder, why should we cross-list off of Europe? I mean, those are nice things to be able to do it all in one place. But really what you want to do is you want to increase your visibility to potential investors and potential business partners. The reality of the fact is that the world is becoming a global market. It's not, we're strictly US, we're strictly Europe. It's becoming global. US companies have offices and partners overseas, and vice versa. They have them in the US, so they're starting really to move, really come together a lot closer. It also shows a commitment to the region. And then also, as you start to reach additional investors and they become more aware of your company, you're going to be able to facilitate future capital raisings, any additional business acquisitions, and then you can also take advantage of the branding and the visibility and the IR opportunities over in Europe that you may not have being strictly in the US. Again, a lot of your filings are strictly based on what comes through what you file with the SEC if you're an NYSE listed domestic company. 10K, 10Qs, etc. Everything's in English. GAAP, your shares are common stocks. The currency is the euro. The overall process itself takes 5 to 6 weeks. It is a pretty straightforward, pretty simple process, not requiring a ton of paperwork. Your ongoing requirements are as large as satisfied with the SEC filings, and the exchange fees for technical listing in Europe usually run somewhere, the initial listing fee is about 25,000 euros, and then your ongoing annual exchange fees is roughly about 10,000 euros. This is just a couple of testimonials from our various customers that have cross-listed. Coca-Cola Enterprises, Cliffs we talked about, Success Factors. Success Factors was an interesting story because they actually were a transfer from the NASDAQ market, and they did the cross-listing at the same time that they came to the NYSE. So they really covered a lot of things at once, really kind of stepped up their game in terms of growing on an international basis. They were very happy with that. And then Watsco and Knight as well. And we'll just, got a brief video here that we're going to run, assuming that everything works, of course.